This is The Deep Dive with Adam Roa.
What's up, Deep Divers? Thank you for joining me for another episode of Deep Dive Musings. I am your host, Adam Roa, and today I want to talk about whether or not you would eat a dog. Yeah, like seriously, would you eat a dog? And now, what comes up for you when I even ask you that question? Does it bother you, the idea of eating a dog? Are you grossed out by it? Are you offended by it? Now, what if I were to tell you that I have eaten dog? Do you want to shut this off? Do you want to leave some angry comments? I haven't, by the way. I haven't eaten a dog before, but there are people who have. There are people who have eaten dogs regularly. It's a regular part of their diet. How does that make you feel? How do you feel knowing that right now on this planet, there are people that are killing dogs and eating them? Now, I keep harping on this, and something that I'm going to show for the people watching on YouTube. I'm going to take my webcam and show, there's my dog right there. There's my dog. And I love her so much. Anyone who follows my social media is probably aware that I love this little creature unbelievably. And so I don't really have any desire to eat dog, but what I do know is that doesn't mean that I'm right. And it doesn't mean that the people who do are wrong. Because in today's world, one of the biggest issues that I'm seeing is that we look at people who are doing things differently and we assign a value of wrong to it. And that is only possible when we have assigned a value of right to how we live. We think about in our culture in the United States and how we treat our cows. Factory farmed in tiny little pens, dairy cows constantly kept pregnant, taking away their calves so they can have milk. Like, we are torturing our cows. Not to mention our chickens and our pigs and all the other factory farmed animals, but specifically with our cows. And then when I went to India, where they're not eating cow, they revere the cow as being holy. I could see many people in India feeling like our treatment of cows is sacrilegious, is completely wrong. We get to go to hell in a handbasket for that. And yet, the majority of the American population has no problem eating that factory farmed cow. And does that make it wrong? No. By the way, I can feel the difference in my own body. When I think about people eating a cow, eating beef, I know that I've grown up where that's normalized, and therefore I don't second guess it. In my body, I don't personally eat any factory farmed meat, so I pay like 4 times the price when I'm in areas where I can and get really high quality meat. And sorry for those of you who feel like I should be a vegan. I've definitely gone through periods of veganism, and I've had lots of medical testing and different things done. And currently, where I'm at in my life, I eat meat. Not every day, but I do. And I've had many a vegan get really angry at me for this, and I don't desire this to be about that. And I hope that if you are vegan, you can still hear where I'm coming from, because that's the whole point. We may not agree. That doesn't make you right. That doesn't make me wrong, or vice versa. Someone out there could be eating a dog right now, and because you grew up in a world where dogs are a man's best friend, where we have cutesy movies like Beethoven and Homeward Bound and all of these, because we have those, we're raised in a society to see dogs almost as like an extension of ourselves, as our babies, as our children, for a lot of us. And even for those of you who may not have that relationship with dogs, it's not like you look at them as food, because it's not a part of our culture in the United States and most of the Western world. And what if you grew up where it was normalized? The same way that you can go out in the wild and shoot an elk and eat it. When you in a part of the world where there's wild dogs, where you have dogs everywhere. And that's a part of the food source. Is it really any different? If it's different, why is it different? What is the line that you are drawing? Is it because you've known dogs and how much they feel? Well, then my question to you is, have you known any pigs? Have you known any cows? Have you known any chickens? Because they all feel too. I had this incredible experience where I went to Tanzania to build some clean water wells with my friend's nonprofit organization called EPIC, which is Everyday People Initiating Change. And I had this opportunity to kill a chicken and eat it. So this was the first time that I would ever be taking an animal's life to eat. And I went into it thinking, if this feels wrong, I'm going to become a vegetarian. And I had the experience of killing this animal, and it was intense. I mean, I cried, I used my sage and Palo Santo, and I said prayers and I blessing. And here's the thing, I felt more connected to being human than I'd ever felt in my life. Truly, I felt like a part of it. It actually helped me realize something that I didn't even know I was missing, which was how disconnected I'd been from that cycle of life. I actually think, my personal opinion is that anyone who wants to eat meat in their life should have the experience of killing an animal to eat it, so they can make that decision and have an understanding of what it actually feels like to be a part of that cycle of life and death. That's my own personal opinion. And here's the funny thing. 2 days later, we are at a village. We built the clean water well, and they wanted to give us a gift as a thank you. And they gave us a chicken. And so what happened? My friend said, here's full circle. Here you go, Adam. And I received that chicken. And I walked around for the next hour holding the chicken as we were given a tour of the village. And the thing was, I could feel how much the chicken could feel. I could feel it in fear when it was shaking, when there was a lot of commotion and things, and I could feel when it would calm down. And it gave me a whole new perspective, because even at that stage, I had never been that, like, an hour of holding a chicken. I'd never done that. And when I see the intelligence of pigs, which they say are smarter than dogs, I think about what their experience must be like in those tiny little cages, in the like literal concentration camp gas chambers that they're killed in. And this feels like, this podcast for me right now feels like it might be a little heavy. And I'm sorry for those of you who tuned in and didn't want something this heavy, but my point is this. This is not about right or wrong. This is about recognizing that the stories that we have inside ourselves that create our feeling of right and wrong is simply a matter of the culture that we were raised in and our life experiences. There are people who get into fist fights because that's the environment they grew up in. That's how they know how to handle conflict, and they don't actually see it as being wrong. Do I think it's right? No. I also don't think it's wrong. I think it's a product. It is a symptom of how someone lived. Something that I ascribe to really deeply is the belief that if I was raised in the exact same circumstances as that human being, I would have done the exact same thing. It is a mindset that I like to carry in the world because it removes this idea that somehow, some way in my soul, I'm just better or different in a more evolved sense. I wouldn't do that. I could choose something different. But if I had the exact same parents, I had the exact same life experiences, maybe I'm doing the exact same things. And more than anything, what I want this podcast to do for you is give you a lens that you can take to look at your own life and question, why do I think certain things are right? Why do I think certain things are wrong? And if I let go of that idea and I actually see everything that's happening as a product of circumstance, how much more compassion can I have in my heart for the people that I disagree with? Because I'm not telling you to accept it. That's a different story. I'm not telling you that because they are, it's a product of circumstances, that their choice to torture and kill animals is something that you need to accept. You get to create a world in which is more aligned with the preferences of what you'd like to see. That's what we're all doing. This podcast is me doing that. I'm sharing my view of the world because I'd love for more people to adopt a lens that's similar to mine, because then I think that we would live in a world that I would more like to see. One where we are not torturing animals, one where we are not committing genocide and sexual assault. One where everyone has clean water. Like, that's the world I want to see. And so I'm going to do everything I can to help create that world, but recognize that's still a preference. That's not empirical right or wrong. And the moment that I realize that, then I can see the people who are working to create a different world, like a Donald Trump, for example, or he slips in my mind, but like the Venezuelan president right now, and like the dictators around the world who are committing human rights violations, like they're working to create a world that for them they want to see. And I don't agree with it. I don't want to see it. So I'm going to work against it. And I'm going to actually work for the world that I want. I'm going to work for the love as I see it, with compassion in my heart for how they see their world. Compassion in my heart for the actions that they take. Because it cannot be easy for someone growing up in a way that allows them to become an adult and commit genocide. There was something along the way that must have been incredibly hard and painful, and reality must have reflected back to them a lot of traumatic experience to get to that point. And I can have compassion for that. I can have compassion for each and every person, no matter how far apart we are on the spectrum of what we agree or don't agree on. And it starts in each and every moment with each and every decision that is being made. Whether to invade a country, whether to murder someone, whether to eat a dog. And that's where those of us who have the level of awareness of this, and that means all of you who have just listened to this or watched this, if you have the awareness of it, that means you have the consciousness level to now make that same choice. You can do that. You can be the change you desire to see. You can embody compassion. Start by asking the question, why do I think they are wrong? And why do I think I am right? And can I see the gray area where right and wrong don't even exist? Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for asking these questions. Thank you for being the change that you want to see on this planet. I want to remind you that always, in all ways, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved.